We're going to start by going around the table with introductions. I am Kimberly Peace. I am the chair and the vice chair of the planning board at this point. So let's go start with you, Ellen.
Ellen Markowitz, representing Goffstown School Board.
Dan O'Connell, community at large member.
Samantha Kearns, Budget Committee representative.
Gail LeBrecq, member at large and recording secretary.
Kelly Boyer, select board representative.
Brad Parkhurst, community at large representative.
And Derek Hornum, the town administrator, serving as staff liaison this evening.
Excellent. Okay, great, everybody. Thank you. So Derek handed out an updated agenda. On our agenda for tonight, we're going to start with just some committee organization, and then we'll hear the presentation from administration and Parks and Recreation. Our meetings are the 1st, June 15th, June 29th, July 6th, July 20th, and then we will be presenting the matrix at the planning board meeting on September 14th. So that's kind of the direction that we are heading. We are only missing at this point Jim Raymond, who may likely stroll in soon, but he is a member of the community at large representative. And I am just going to go skim over some of the introductory information. Everyone that sits on the committee, with the exception of Samantha, has been on this committee before, but I just kind of thought it was useful. I had gone through the handbook before earlier today. So I think, as Ellen had said earlier when we were talking about this, the Capital Improvements Program is a planning tool. So this is a matrix by which we use to plan out some of the large ticket items that happen in town. It is not a part of the budget process. It gets presented to the budget committee at the end of the process, but it is not technically a budget tool. It is actually more of a planning tool for how we even out the larger cost items in the town. And I just wanted to go over some of the highlights. So the major benefits are preserving public health, safety, and welfare, anticipating the demands of growth, and I think that's a big one, building a foundation for growth management, identifying scattered and premature development, so the development kind of progresses in a more steady form, supporting economic development, and I think this is the one that most of us tend to think of, is distribution of capital costs to avoid undue tax increases, and identifying funding. So the CIP is a means of avoiding a surprise of having multiple large ticket items coming through in one year. And so we try to even those out and base them on their priorities so that we know where they're coming down the pipeline. That's one of the key tools I think that's important. And then finally, improving communication and coordination amongst the planning board, the select board, administrative officials, the budget committee. So it's also sort of, as I said, a tool that we use to kind of take a look at these bigger items as they come through. There are some RSAs that are available. And what I'm looking at right now, by the way, for those who are watching or listening, the Capital Improvements Program handbook is available online on the town website. I was looking at this earlier today. And I wanted to go over what is a capital expense. So the acquisition or lease of land or interest in land for public purpose, to address the growth of community services, so such as a building, a physical facility, public infrastructure, equipment purchase, and any of those which costs or commits at least $25,000 before factoring external funding or fees, and has an expected life of at least 5 years. And then in addition, we have other items that are the purchase or lease of wheeled vehicles or motorized equipment that have an anticipated life of 3 years. And then the cost or obligation to conduct, prepare, or present surveys if the total is at least $10,000. And then projects that come to immediate compliance with state or federal law or a court order. So those are the items that come up because there are items that fall below these thresholds or that don't fit into these categories that are typically provided in each department's operational budget, and that gets part of the budget committee as well. So that's why those items are not a part of this process. So yeah, as is identified, routine or annually recurring expenses or obligations for services which are not a part of it unless they exceed that threshold. So, and then our process by which we conduct all this is super fun, is that we meet for the next several weeks. We meet every other Thursday. Not quite, it's the schedule that I just presented. There are members from the planning board, which is myself that serves as the chair, a representative from the select board, the budget committee and the school board. And then we do have community at large members as well. We will go over each week several different, the groups and departments in town will present their CIP, what's called a matrix, which is their list of items that will fall under the CIP process. We will review them, we'll look at how they relate to the master plan, we'll look at their priority and their where they fall into the matrix as well. And then at the end of this process, we will deliberate and we will go over the matrix as a whole, and then we will look at it and present it and ultimately to the select board. And then they will get transmitted ultimately to the budget committee for consideration in future budgets. And the budget committee, of course, has the right to include the CIP recommendations or not at that point. So that's kind of where we're headed and the goals and the process that we are going to follow. So, Derek, that was a quick overview. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Just a quick one.
Sure.
Are we considered a subcommittee of the planning board or an ad hoc committee to the planning board?
No, we are a separate committee of the town. So it's not
I think
a
under the
committee plan.
statutes, you're a subcommittee of the planning board, but it
Okay.
is, you are technically, CIP is a process that's laid out in the land use statute. So you are a committee, but you're doing work on behalf of the planning board and reporting back to them. Because ultimately, the matrix is reviewed, can be modified and approved by the planning board.
Okay, thank you.
So you're right, RSA 674:5 under authorization. So when the planning board has adopted a master plan, the local legislative body may authorize the planning board to prepare a CIP program. So yeah, so you're right that we do fall under, so part of the program falls under the planning board. So thank you for asking that.
Oh, that was just for my own clarification.
Well, it's
Even though
always good.
I sat on the board, this is my third year, so.
No. Anyone else have any other questions? No? No? Okay, well, this will be super fun. So Gail reminded me that officially there are minutes from the last CIP meeting in 2022. And we should have enough members to vote this in. So we have Ellen, you were there, Brad, you were there, Dan, you were there, I was there, Gail. Okay, so we do need to just approve those minutes unless someone has reviewed them and has any edits. I reviewed them, I do not have any edits or comments. So can someone make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of July 21st, 2022?
I'll move approval of the minutes of July 21st, 2022 as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Abstains. So Kelly and Samantha abstains. So, all right, we're all set on that one then, right? Okay. All right, moving forward then. Derek, I believe you are going to present the matrix under administration. So everyone in our big honkin' binder, we have a tab that says administration, and Derek did hand out the matrix as well.
If you're all right, would it be all right if Rick goes
Yeah,
first?
Rick, if
Because
you
I
wanna
gotta
go.
be here for both, but I did hand out the matrix tonight, so just a quick review of what's in the binder, and maybe while I'm doing this, Kelly can swear in Jim. You have each department broken out by tab, and there will be, so fire and DPW, you will be receiving additional items when they present. The matrix that I handed out tonight, what we do is we put all those project sheets into a spreadsheet. And it goes out 6 years. If anyone would prefer an electronic copy, I'd be happy to send the PDF, or we could send like a read-only Excel file. Next time I print it, I will try and get the text a little bit larger, so I do apologize for that. There's a lot of information here. But what we break out is, on the town side, we broke it out by department vehicles, and each department has, and then there are department projects. So tonight, Rick will be presenting, he's on, and what you also have is you have the column letters across the top and the row numbers. So Rick is at row 83 for his vehicles, which was part of the 2023 adopted budget. He doesn't have any new vehicles in there, but that kind of shows what was approved. And then his projects are at row 146. And then Rick, if you want to refer to the row number on the left there, that might be helpful for the members.
Excellent.
So it's not admin, it's Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Oh,
we'll
right,
do-
you're right, we're skipping ahead to Parks and Rec. Okay.
And that's in the new paper that was handed to us? Okay.
It's in the big matrix, and then his project sheets are already in your binder behind.
tabs.
Yeah,
Okay.
behind the tab.
So the one you got today.
Hmm?
The one you got today.
Okay, so it's in there, so I'm not gonna work in here.
And it's under the one that's 2024, 2029 capital improvements program.
So you can present them in any order you'd like, Rick.
Just introduce yourself for the record.
All right, let's roll. Rick Wilhelming, Director of Parks and Recreation. I guess I'll just go chronologically, start with 24 and travel on through. The one that is most important, which will be next year's projects.
Okay.
Line 24?
2024.
Yeah. Hang on, let's let Jim catch up.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Okay,
I'm sorry to be late.
go ahead.
Wonderful day out there today. Let's see. The pool's won't open until June 19th. I'm sure people are curious. It's 92 degrees. Why aren't the pools open? They'll open around the 19th, okay? So that's when we're scheduled. Waterfront is usable. You just got to work around the construction. Anyhow, 2024, this project here, we have our new pool and facility, which has been in this matrix now for probably, since what, 2012? Something like that. It's been in there for a long time. And this will be the year, 2024, that it hopefully will come to fruition. As I discussed in years past, if you look at that document, which is in your detailed information, it's about a $4.1 million project. What does that consist of? It'll consist of demolition of the Barnard Pool, and it'll consist of rebuilding a pool, the concrete decking, a bathhouse, and a filtration room. That $4.1 million is for that project alone. It has nothing to do with the Roy Park Pool. It's probably time in our community to come down and have one pool in our community. We don't need two pools in our community. So that pool at Roy will be repurposed. It can be repurposed for whatever we want to dream up. But it won't be within that 4.1 scope of work. Maybe it becomes a pickleball court. Maybe it becomes a dog park. Wouldn't that be a beautiful dog park? You know, drive right in, walk your dog out in a fenced area. Beautiful, beautiful place. A lot of repurposing for that area. Anyhow, of the 4.1 million matching income, we will seek a LWCF federal grant for $500,000. We'll look to use $250,000 of revolving Parks and Recreation revolving fund monies. So you have about $750,000 to start with matching income. And as far as the commissioners look at it, and this is the commissioners, I mean, they're a small cog in the wheel. When you ask the next question, how do you fund the rest? I guess you bond it. I mean, don't know how else to do it. So that would be how that project would move along. Fire away.
So,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
First, for the LWCF grants, do those have the same restrictions as we have now?
Explain.
As Sorry, my allergies are really
That's
kicking
fine.
in today.
I just got done swimming too, so I'll probably start sneezing in about 30 minutes here.
So the grant funding that we used to build the current pools
Yes.
gave us some restrictions
Yes.
on resident usage and things like that. Do these grants, the LWCF grants, have those same?
That's the
restrictions?
exact same grant that actually built those pools in, 78? 1978.
Okay. And then, when was the study done on this?
2019, 2020, right around there.
So do we think that this is an accurate price or?
Good question. That's a very good question. The commissioners met last Wednesday, and we kind of went through it. And to be quite honest with you, I think there's some areas that we can probably cut in what that projection was. I mean, if you look, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but I mean, the pool itself is a 1.7 estimate. The mechanical building is 192,000. A bathhouse is 954,000. That's based on the size that they're looking at. Can we nickel dime that, bring it down, make it smaller? Possibly, you know what I mean? So yes, Kelly, there are some areas that I think we can, and that's the process. I mean, here we are, June 1st, here we are, the beginning of the 9 months of municipal budgeting. It's a fun time, 9 months. So we are in the beginning process, and we'll actually have to really get our feet in the sand and start digging in at this to really get at it. But, you know, there's some things in there, like the shade structures. They got $60,000 here. We already have 2, we just got to repurpose them. You know, those are 10 grand a piece, so. But little things like that, I think the 4.1 is a little aggressive. It's pretty close, but I think we could probably save a little bit.
I was anticipating with the cost of things now that it'd be actually be higher, so.
Well, I did
Interesting to
ask
see.
Weston Sampson that question, 4.1, is this going into, I gotta just explain to you, going into 9 months of this process here. And they felt that they still believe that this is okay. This was given to us, I wanna say, updated last year, so they're feeling okay. Don't hold me to it, I'm beginning the process, kid.
Thank you.
Yes, this will be voted on when, as a bond?
March
March.
of 20, March of
24.
24, okay. And construction will start, assuming it passes, construction would start when?
As soon as we can get it to start. That's a question, I would love in a perfect world to start immediately.
I'm just thinking about, okay, I'm just thinking about
And we may,
time frames when Roy would close
you-
and Barnard, when it's under construction, won't be there.
Yeah.
So is there a time space like that summer, there's no pool in town?
you got a lot of good questions that, you know
I'm
what?
good at that.
Yeah, can't answer that right this second, but I'll tell you, plan A, B, and C will be in place. Meaning, if we can make something happen and on schedule, they can get it up for a June opening, winner, chicken dinner.
I think the bond process is going to push that back. You may not start it until the fall, to be quite honest with you.
See that?
The
So
amount
there
of,
you go.
the amount of work that the select board need to do, and then the municipal bond bank actually goes out with
Timing.
the bonding schedule. You're probably not
So-
looking until a fall or a spring the following year.
So in that theory, thank you, Derek. So in that theory, winner, chicken dinner. You run as is, and then.
Until you get it.
And then you got, you know, till the 25, is that right? The 25 summer season, and you open up in 2025.
Rick, you might have said it, sorry if I missed it, but did the commissioners decide which location it would be at?
Oh, God, yeah, Barnard Park.
Okay, thank you.
And
The
when,
footprint at Roy Park is just too small.
And it's always been studied to be at Barnard Park.
Yes.
and Roy would close then when that one opens? Is that a correct assumption?
Again, Ellen, I mean, I think in theory, yeah, we'll work out some patterns of how that will happen.
Yeah.
to sit here and talk about that right now and give you a response, heck, I don't know. I think in theory, you'll have to work out, there'll be a time frame, obviously, of transition.
Yeah.
But it sounds like if Derek is saying to me, you can't do it until fall, that's a beautiful transition, because you're just everything is gonna shut down like it normally shuts down. You go through your fall, winter, come into your spring season, you open up with one granddaddy. Beautiful, winter.
I guess I'm thinking of other bonds that might be coming up town-wide. We'll see them as we go through the process, I guess.
Right. And again, just to clarify that that's the world, we're talking as if this would be rolling through in 2024.
Right.
So,
Big if.
Brad.
How long would the bond be for? 10 years, 15 years?
Help me out with that,
Council.
Derek.
That'd be a question for the select board, and how they would propose it, because I guess
Rates and-
as we saw at the last town meeting, there are two ways a bond article can be placed on the warrant. The select board can place it on, or you could have a petition by the voters to put it on. However, ultimately it'd be the governing body's decision on how long they're going to finance that.
Going to bond council and all that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
Sure.
How, because obviously it's not just, like what I see in the price breakdown, the pool itself is $1.7 million. What is that price entailing of like change? Like is the pool itself physically changing as well?
You're gonna have the same footprint that is there right now. So that L-shaped type of pool, that deck pool area will be the same footprint with a different pool put into it.
Okay. I know when the budget committee did, I'm gonna call them like field trips last
Yep.
year, we talked about making it more handicap accessible and ADA compliant. But that doesn't affect the actual footprint of the pool or the bathhouse or anything?
No, what it'll do, good question. Our proposed pool will be what is called a zero entry pool. So on one whole end, you would actually just walk in, all right? So it'd be ankle deep water and you just walk in that way. So that way there, as far as handicap goes, it's a lot easier to do. You don't have to have special equipment and things like that to make things work. What it would do is it would kind of reshape your design. It would still kind of be like an L-shaped type of pool, all right? But picture, right now our pool is six lane pool, and then you have the L where the diving is, okay? So probably the first 2 lanes on that right-hand, just say the right-hand side for now, that would all be zero walking in, all right? So from one end, probably halfway, you'd be at about waist deep, thigh deep water, and then by the time you get to the other end, you're at about 3 foot of water. And then you kind of come around, it has an island that comes down, and then around that side would be the 5 foot depth to 5 foot depth on the other end. And then the L would go down where it'd be 12 feet deep. So, no, good concept. And actually, with that design, the way they kind of gave us a ballpark look at it, guarding wise, it's pretty cool because you can just put your guarding station right down the center, and you have face this way, face this way. It's pretty slick. So, and then we would redesign where right now. I mean, you all have seen that facility, right? It's beautiful. Anyhow, the entry, the bathroom, the bathrooms and all that are on the far side. So what we would propose is we would put on the parking lot side is where that entry would be, is you build the entryway there with your bathhouse, your guard staff area. If we need a check-in place, because I have a feeling that come down the road, some things might be asked with this to have some form of a check-in system. So you make all that on the front side by the tennis courts, and you come in over on that side. And then on the back side by the pavilion side, that's where you build the storage and pump house. So.
Thank you.
Just one more, any thought to, with regard to parking? Being that it's going from 2 to 1, is there any thought that there's going to be a need for more parking?
Oh, parking's an issue wherever you go.
Yeah.
In all honesty, we don't have any room to make any more parking. We really don't. I mean, no, there's nothing in there. And maybe that's shameful on our side, you're right, but I don't know, man. Parking's an issue wherever you go.
But there is
It's
a
really-
limit to how many people can be in the pool anyway, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
There's just not a lot of extra space in Butter Run.
No, and utilizing that footprint that's there, the pool, the deck and all that is no issue. That's right where it's gonna be. The issue where it's gonna be, I think, is the new bathhouse. That's gonna take, where the John Brown track sign is there. So it'll encroach into that area, over to the track area, that type of thing. Because we still need that access road
Go around.
going around. So, yeah, parking's an issue. Because right now, what do we do for parking over there? Like when you have a JV football game, you unlock the gate and you park them all around the pool and the grass, all the way around the other side, plus the parking lot. It's just not, it's not designed whatsoever for a large event. And do you build more parking and do away with your facilities? I don't know. That's debate. Good conversation around a fire.
So what's your next item?
Okay, thank you. This next item for 2024 is something that we just put on the docket. So it's, if you look at it, it's, what is it, number 148 in that column, just below the, okay?
$80,000.
So, yeah, $80,000. What we were, unfortunately, we weren't able to finish all the parking at the sports complex. We're calling this Phase 1 parking. We ran out of some money and we had some other little issues that we had to deal with. So what we're proposing is right now, we have $91,000 of impact fee money in an account ready to go. With impact fee monies, you have to put it through this process here. It has to be vetted through this process. So what we're looking at doing is using about $80,000 of that money in 2024 to take on that project. What is the scope of work of that project? I don't know if any of you have been over there. I have no idea. When you drive down the road, okay, as you're coming down the complex, left-hand side, you got a set of power lines that go through the woods. There's a little island right there. That was all scheduled to be parking. So what we have to do is we have to remove some trees. We have to remove the stumps. We have to do some earthwork, spread that pile around, and then put in some the same knit pack material that we have in the parking lot. So.
And that is something that is currently in a fund and it's not
That
taxpayer.
impact fee money, yes,
Right.
would not affect taxes.
So just to clarify, because I see impact fee on the sports complex Phase 2 and 3, but not on the parking lot. So this is, you're saying
Well, I
impact
think
fees
if you
for the
look
parking
at,
lot?
if you look at the sports complex in years out, Kelly, that all has to be redone.
Okay.
So yes, you should have $80,000 on the revenue side. I failed to add that to the matrix, so I'm putting that in now for a future.
Okay, thank you. My second question is, what are they currently doing for parking now? Like, is this necessary to do if we're just putting down knit pack and
It's
not paving?
absolutely necessary.
Okay.
There's not enough parking. That was part of the plan for that to happen, but we had to cut some cash, and that's what we cut. It needs to happen.
Okay.
And this is a perfect opportunity to take and use it.
And then my third question is, have we considered doing like a CIP fund for the field projects, capital reserve fund for the CIP projects at the fields?
I will put that back at you, and I will say,
Well, I'm asking like have the commissioners, because I see 100,000, 100,000,
No, they have not.
80,000.
no, they have not. But I'll put, while you open that box, You know, I sat on a Glen Lake Waterfront Committee. I'm sitting on a Bridge Ad Hoc Committee. I'm looking at all these projects. I honestly think someday you're hitting the nail on the head. We have to say, just like you have a fire apparatus fund. I'm speaking totally off the cuff, so don't hold me to anything here. This is open conversation. And maybe what we need to do to help balance the bleed, because there's a lot of needs. I'm sorry, there is a ton of needs that are outrageous, and people they're going to lose their minds. But is there a different way for us to approach our capital needs? And do we put X amount of money in a capital reserve fund that helps you gain the monies you need to start to work at these projects? I don't know. I'm throwing that back at you. You know?
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Nope, just if the commissioners or you had any foresight other than this of other projects that field might need, that I think that's something we should look at.
Well, the field, yes, we have, there's a lot of needs, Kelly. There's the field project, and as you can see, there's other projects. Going like waterfront. I'm going to bring up some other things about tennis courts. There's a lot of projects, not just that sports complex.
Yep.
Were you talking just about other needs at the sports complex?
Yes, yes.
So Rick, can you clarify, just as a reminder to me and anybody else who doesn't know, so you had commented on here, so if we skip ahead to the $2 million for the sports complex phase 2 and phase 3, you've got $1 million in 2025 and $1 million in 2028. And then there are notes here. So town meeting approved special article in 2019 with partial funds and then revenues from impact fees. So can you just clarify that a little bit more?
So how that was funded is what you're asking for the phase 1 that we did?
Sure.
The phase 1, yeah. I don't remember the exact numbers. I guess I could look at it right there. But what there was is it was $800,000 project. And I want to say we came up with $400,000 in matching revenues, and then taxation paid for the rest of it.
Okay.
Don't hold me to those numbers.
Right. And then of those $2 million, are you saying
For the out
impact
years.
fees and Parks and Revolving Fund could be used
Yes,
based on monies available at the time?
Yes.
So if we get to 2025, say $1 million might be $800,000.
there you go.
So, and that would be money that we would have to approach the voters with?
Yes.
Okay.
And you'd have to find, are those monies still there? I don't have a crystal ball, so,
Right.
I mean, that's what could be used.
Right. And so to Kelly's point, if there was some sort of like revolving fund where monies got donated, put into the fund every
Yes.
year, it might smooth the path a little bit more.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I like that idea, but I look at it possibly in a different format. Just my own 2 cents.
What format?
Towards projects, if you have recreation projects, what are those what falls into those recreation projects?
So you're saying maybe a revolving fund for all recreation projects?
Off the cuff speaking, something like that, yes.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit more difficult just by the definition of a capital reserve fund, but I mean, I think it's something we could talk about.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
how those projects get approved, right? Because the voters should still have a say in what gets approved, whether it's a pool or a parking lot.
Yeah, I
But
guess
there's options.
I see what you're saying, because then that's not the transparent thing. I understand what you're saying. Okay.
But it's something we can look at for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Brad?
Well, first of all, I'm on Parks and Rec Commission.
Right.
Is your question do we have other visions about the sports complex area, or?
No, I just wanted a little clarification on that note that's in the matrix about the, kind of coming up with the idea that, so in the matrix, sometimes the number is $1 million, but we might not have to ask the taxpayers for $1 million in 2025. We might have to look at what else, other funds we have available, and then come up with what that shortfall is.
Thank you.
That was sort of my, and I'm really educating myself too, because I don't always remember. Ellen?
Yeah, did I hear correctly, we currently have 91,000 in the,
Impact fees.
thank you, impact fees, and 80 of that is going to be used for
2024,
2024, leaving 11,000 for
whatever.
the next million or whatever's coming up next. So, okay, so it just sounded to me like we were saying we have all this money in impact fees, and we've already decided it's probably going to be used.
Right.
So it's not going to be there unless, and if we have a whole lot of growth, that's another issue.
Correct.
And remind us where the impact fees come from.
You can help me out with this, Derek, but I think they come from when folks build homes within the community.
Okay.
There's an impact to the town by adding bodies. I mean, I'm not saying this correctly.
Units,
but-
maybe.
Yeah, so whenever the planning board has developed 4 different impact fee studies for how additional housing impacts the capital needs of the town. So at the time of a certificate of occupancy, depending on what type of unit it is, we collect a fee. And this is allowed under, again, the land use statutes. And we are able to hold that. If it's not used within 6 years, it's returned to the property owner. Our department heads do a very good job of using them for those expanded capital facilities.
Right. And just as a reminder to the taxpayers, there are no recreational fees in town, correct? We don't
Excuse me?
pay to use the pool, we don't pay to use the tennis courts. None of
Correct.
our facilities have a fee.
Facilities, correct.
Okay.
And just to clarify, the use of those fees does have to go to the voters.
No.
No, the fees do not go to the voter.
No, the use of them.
What we typically do is, I guess, yes, it goes to the voter as it's part of the
Well,
operating budget
yes.
typically, and it's an offsetting revenue, and then you have an appropriation on the appropriation side. It's
Yes.
typically how we do it. So yes, it's part of the
Thank
operating
you, that's a more
budget.
technical answer for what I was trying to say.
Okay. So, Rick, do you want to say anything more? So I kind of jumped ahead on you. Do you want to say anything more about the sports complex, or do you want to move to the next one?
I think I'd like to, just to put conversation out there with not a lot of questions, because there's, I think, a lot of different areas where we can be moving here. There's some moving parts going on. Where I'm going with this is we have a wonderful new turf field that is going to be in place. This is a primo athletic field with lights. You're going to be able to have games all the time
At the high school,
at the high school.
right?
Our premise of originally building the rectangular fields was our youth programs never had a place to play. Now, with this new field, I'm hoping they have a wonderful place to play, which then means you don't need as many rectangular fields. We would need 2 more rectangular fields for practice space to give these programs a place to practice. But we don't need 3 more or 4 more that we have proposed in this plan. So I have a feeling, and this is why I didn't really get too into it, we're going to spend some time and reevaluate what that is. I have an out-of-the-box, way out-of-the-box idea.
I can't wait to hear
No,
it.
leave your hand down.
I have a question.
I don't have it in here, but 2020, or 2030, okay, 2030, what's that, 7 years from now? 7 years. What would be phenomenal is one thing that this community is having issues with is indoor gym space. You can attest to that. You can attest to that. Okay? That, in my mind, requires 3 indoor basketball courts, a facility, a nice facility. You have a recreation building that is really not usable for much.
Yep.
God, 1970 Blue Goose, It's a great thing, okay? All right? But that, to me, is a dream that would really benefit many, many people. And where would I put that? Right on that sports complex. I'm going to throw another spinner out there. Really spin your head. If you need land for a police department, there's another good spot for a police department.
Now we're
I
going
opened
into
up
the wilderness.
Pandora's
Rick's
box.
getting crazy now.
But hold on a minute.
No, you're
Isn't
not
that
wrong.
what this is about?
Yeah, this is an exercise.
You're not wrong.
Is this an exercise? We worry too much about year, but, and then things get kicked. But I think we gotta be, somebody somewhere has gotta have some forward thinking. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, your question.
So to your point about the field at the high school, do we know when that's gonna start getting into their rotation for use?
Fall.
Okay, this fall. So that would go to the 2024, 2025 budget year.
I don't know what you're saying.
For the, they'll start in the fall for
Yeah.
sport usage. They'll have
Yeah.
spring
Yeah.
and fall, or fall and spring use on that field, right?
Sure.
I'm assuming a variety of different sports that also utilize the sports complex?
Yes.
Okay, so this is on for 2025, 100, or $1 million.
Yep.
Do we have, or have we thought about an evaluation period to see what the utilization of that field might do in offsetting the usage on the sports complex fields?
I think that's gonna be the next phase, Cal.
Okay.
It's
So-
gonna be a natural phase. It's
The only
gonna
reason
be-
I'm asking is we're not here to tell you what to do with this stuff, but do you think that this $1 million items could be shifted down on the matrix because we're gonna have a reevaluation period?
Down or
Year-wise?
further out?
Further
Further
out,
out?
further
Oh, yeah,
out.
yes, further out, yes.
And I'm just asking, because I haven't looked at the total numbers or anything, but I feel like a good, like, reevaluation of time and usage and all that, we should probably do that before
That
we
is a
commit
very
to numbers.
good question, and I think that's naturally gonna happen, because
Mm-hmm.
you have to have numbers to justify what you're doing. I think my next exercise that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at gym space time, and I'm gonna start a spreadsheet on that, because that's the next, just like what we did with fields. When we said we needed the fields, we did a field study.
Yep.
And we showed we called it foot traffic, the amount of foot traffic on these fields. You needed it. Okay, you extend that study and now say, okay, with this new field in here, well, how does that change things? Absolutely, you gotta do that exercise. But I think the other bigger exercise, for me, and I have to take that on, is this whole gym space thing.
And Rick, something you said, is the school in alignment with the Parks and Rec vision of the use of that new field at the high school? So other community groups are going to be able to use it, or is the school going to say, this is our field, we need to take care of this baby?
She's asking you the question.
And I don't know, maybe I'm tiptoeing into like controversy here, but I mean, was that and understood that that field will be used by other community groups or just for the schools?
I want to say yes, it's going to be used for everybody. But I don't have the jurisdiction to sit here and say that at this very moment.
Okay.
But it was all discussed when we had our planning meetings about the field and all that, and how it can be used for the greater community. And yes, that's in there.
That's the intention. yes.
That
So we'll
is
write
the-
that down as a question for Scott.
Right.
For all
and you know
along,
what?
it's been a community use.
Exactly. It will be used, but I don't want to be this person that sits here and says yes, because I'm on minutes and all this other stuff,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Sure.
And somebody says, Rick, what are you talking about?
Right. Well, and it makes a big difference if we're actually throwing that into our field space or if we're saying, no, this is just for the school's use.
No, it's going to be community.
Okay.
It will be.
It always has been from day
Yes.
one, community use. I think the big issue will be the scheduling of all of
Oh,
it.
right. Oh, yeah. But that's not my job.
That'll be Justin's problem. All right, so that, I guess that does the sports complex, right?
Sure.
So 2026, we have $160,000 for an HVAC system at the recreation building. As I said, it's $160K. Imagine that, that was, I got a number on that in 2021, in 2021, and it was $100,000. I called the guy and I said, how much would that be in present day? 60,000 it went up, so $160,000. Anyhow, that got moved out to 26, and that might get kicked down the road again. What I've been asked to do is at the current time, is can we just put in, you know those mini split systems? Can we just put that in there? Is it cheaper? Will it be efficient? It doesn't give you air circulation. I mean, we got the exhaust fan on the wall there, the warehouse exhaust fan for, did I tell you that story? I never forget COVID, right? COVID. So we're doing everything, following all these guidelines, we got the air exhaust going, right? This is in like December. Next thing I know, smoke is bellowing down the hallway. I'm like, what the heck's going on? That exhaust fan had so much power, it took the, you know when the smoke goes up the chimney from your burner? Well, it was pulling it out and bringing it down the building. I'm like, oh my God, it's wild. Great experience. Anyhow, so that'll probably get pushed out. In 2027, we added, this is a new ad.
This is not on your matrix. This is a miss by me, so I have added it in and we will make that correction.
This is the 357,000, the one that's in the very first one.
Yes, yes.
Very cool. So what that is the Barnard tennis courts right at the moment, we've been band-aiding a crack, filling a crack in that court for the past 3 years. It's going the full length. It goes from the west end to the east end, east-west, whatever you want to call it. It's going the full distance of that court now. It's not going to go away. Just keep band-aiding it. So I think we need to put into a out years a replacement of the asphalt to protect that. And quite honestly, pickleball is growing so immensely. I actually looked at designing a four-court pickleball system right on that location, as well with the tennis courts. So that's in the out years.
And that has a class 3 desirable.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
You know, I never know what to put with those things. Necessary is necessary. Necessary is urgent to me. I don't know, urgent.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Health and safety.
And then the waterfront rehab.
Yeah, that one there is just a 50,000 placeholder. I can tell you right now, that would be a heck of a lot more than that. Heck of a lot more than that. And actually, in that ad hoc committee that I sat on, that was a recommendation from the ad hoc committee, is to develop a capital reserve system over so many years to slowly collect some money to do the rehabilitation of that. That was a recommendation from the committee for the Glen Lake ad hoc committee. So Kelly, the more I think about what I said earlier, you probably do have to do it specific.
I'm putting it on my list.
We can't do it like a generic. You're probably right.
And that was originally paid for from a grant also. Was it the Glen Lake
It
waterfront?
probably was. I not being mean or anything, I can't see us doing anything without some kind of help.
Yeah.
If I may, I just, it's not CIP really, but we're talking about Glen Lake. I would just be really cautious in where we get money from. I think it was mentioned before that this is in Goffstown. There are a lot of people that try and park, they're parking way down Elm Street because they're not from Goffstown to park there. And
They could be from Goffstown, they just don't have a sticker.
well, go
No,
get one.
we gotta stop talking like this. We gotta stop talking like this, please. Please, we gotta stop talking like this. Anyhow, there are people that want to use the lake. Anyhow, because at that point there, I think it would be a good time, we did, like, we just did the quick fix of the
Boat launch.
boat ramp, thank you very much. That was a quick time frame. We had no monies, we made it work, we basically rebuilt, fixed, used the same material of what the system is there right now. It's what is called a Type A system, which is a plank system. And what we really need, the application you need for that, because of boat thrust and all that, it has a higher thrust rate and all that, you need something that's called a Type B system. That alone right there is gonna be probably close to $80,000 just for that. So, and Kimberly can attest to that.
And the waterfront gets used. I mean, it's as, just like any other resource in town, that does get used.
It gets used a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Right, yeah.
And,
As too, I will note, the boat launches in Hooksett, and they don't ask if you're a resident. And Manchester's facilities, they don't ask if you're a resident. People go to waterfronts. So we can get exclusionary, but then every other town will. So I'm siding with Rick on that one.
I just have a
Question.
quick question.
Sam?
So I know that there's a lot going on with the dams. How would that affect that waterfront space?
well, that's a really
Good
Pandora's
question.
box.
So I just don't want to say like,
Wait, hold, sorry.
That's a
never mind.
Pandora box that I don't think we can even bring up at this moment.
No.
Good
Can I-
answer.
can I-
Go ahead, yeah.
So the Hadley Falls Dam, the state has surrendered their FERC license. So they are beginning a process to remove that dam or breach that dam that is involving the town. Kelly Falls in Manchester is still operating hydroelectric, and the select board is in conversations with the state on the future of that dam. Admittedly, it is a small power producer, so that there is some uncertainty there. I would say Greg's Falls, that the impoundment creates Glen Lake, that is a state-owned dam that needs capital infrastructure, but they have a tenant there that is producing power, that just spent quite a bit of money to drain the lake and to fix the powerhouse, and they are currently working with the state on improvements there. So of all the dams, I would be less worried about that one, but the select board is kind of working with the state on all three.
I didn't mean to like create a whole catastrophe.
No,
I
no,
also
but I
wouldn't
think
want us to like
But it's a
put
good
money into
question.
fixing something, and then it's like, oh well, then the lake's not really going to be there anymore. You know what I
Well,
mean?
the
Like
good,
that's
the
the
good news is, so we don't have a definite answer on anything except for
Hadley.
except for Hadley right here, and they've told us that it won't impact upstream, so we should be okay. But we still don't know the ins and outs of what the options are with that, and we won't have any idea until they inform us. So the good news is this one's out till 2027, so I think we can keep it in there. But as
2028.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2028, but I think for future planning of any other impacts that will come for the dam, we just don't know right now.
Yeah, see, the point is, we got 2028, so we got some years to probably figure out what is gonna be reality of all
Yeah.
that, so,
We don't know is the answer.
Thank you.
yeah. And I think that's all I really have, right? Did I miss anything, Derek?
No, I'm the one that missed a bunch of stuff, so.
I didn't even notice. I don't look at this.
I know.
I just look at the sheets that I do.
Yeah.
You don't like the matrix?
No, it's pretty interesting. It's just, to me, with my ADHD, it's overwhelming. I can't handle it.
I understand what you're saying.
It's too much
I
to
agree.
stare at.
I like this.
I get distracted easily.
How's the new truck? Did you get the new truck?
Haven't gotten it yet.
That's a bummer.
Is that it from Parks and Rec?
That is like from Parks and Rec, yeah.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
There really is. I mean, in all truthfulness, there's a lot.
I will note for the record, I've done this for 2 years, that Rick is getting a lot better in his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone have any final questions for Rick before we release him? Okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, guys.
Very Okay, Derek, it is your show now.
Okay.
Go to administration.
Yeah, so I will operate in a similar manner to Rick, where I will spend a little bit more time on, well, I guess all my projects are in 2024. So we have 3 items that are on the CIP matrix. If you're looking at the matrix, we're on page 4 of 9. We are starting on 135. So the first item that we have for you tonight is ballot counting devices. Right now, the Secretary of State's office and the Ballot Law Commission up at the state, they have been engaged with vendors over the past 3 to 4 years to bring in some more options for ballot counting devices. The town of Goffstown approved the purchase of ballot counting devices in the 90s here, and we have had those same machines, those same tabulators since then. We have 5 tabulators. It's a little bit worrisome as those get phased out and the state moves to multiple new vendors for, again, still counting paper ballots, but they're moving towards new ones. So we anticipate staff, the town clerk's office, the moderator, or we anticipate the state will be announcing those vendors this summer or fall, because we have been advised of a go and see date in August. We'll be able to actually go and see the different devices. And it would be my intention to bring to the select board, and the town clerk would be to purchase one of those basically new. Right now we have 5 tabulators, so at a minimum we want to keep that. They run about $10,000 a piece. And yeah, I think the reason I put a department priority as urgent is because our elections are one of the most important things that the town clerk's office does. And when you're operating off 25-year-old tabulators, if something were to go wrong or you need to source a part, it can, get a little scary. So.
Derek, did they give any additional fees for anything like formatting the cards for the first time? Is there any off-the-jump extra costs that come with it?
So there is, we assume that there are going to be fees for card programming, for printing ballots, and I think those are questions as the state actually starts approving vendors. The select board and with the help of the moderator and the town clerk can start asking those questions when they are deciding which vendor to go with. So those are usually, we put those as operational costs, we put those in the operating budget based on the number of elections we're going to have.
I'm just thinking because we have 4 next year.
Yep.
That could be a pretty big.
Yes, it could be, yes.
Do you know if the newer machines would integrate well with the older machines? I'm just trying to think of if you had a computer from 1997 and you tried to connect it with a computer from 2023.
They're stand alone.
So I don't know, yeah, so what did it?
Not I don't mean as an actual computer, I mean as having those machines work together. Could you have both machines counting at the same time?
I think the difficulty with that is most of the machines are proprietary and you are purchasing, you contract with that company to provide you the ballots because they know how their tabulator is going to read that ballot. So
okay.
It's not that we when we go out to print, we have to get into the queue as quick as possible because right now there's only one company that services that's allowed in New Hampshire by the state of New Hampshire. So when it comes to town meeting, you have to get your ballots in as quick as possible so that you're not at the back of the queue because they are servicing all towns that use the devices.
Okay.
So I don't foresee an option where we could have 2 different types of machines counting because then you'd have to purchase 2 different types of ballots and I don't.
Right, that would make sense, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be a really spicy
Oh, absolutely.
event.
Oh, yeah, I
And
think.
I want to know all about
Yeah.
all the different spice.
Now, we get all our ballots right now from the state, right?
No,
No?
they provide ballots for state elections, but local elections, we have to purchase those. So yes, we do get them for state primaries, presidential primary, and the state general election. election. So yes, the state does provide those to us, but when it comes to town elections, we have to get those. We order those.
Thank you.
And then moving this forward, if this was approved by the budget committee, it would go forward as a line item to the voters, or would it be within the operating budget?
So typically, we try and keep most CIP items within the operating budget. In the past, the select board has made the decision to pull some out and fund from fund balance. And then there's also some that by law we have to pull out. So anytime you're depositing into a capital reserve fund, any bond issues, stuff like that, any leases, you'll see that later when the school comes forward. Those actually have to be separate articles.
Okay.
But typically, staff has asked the select board to maintain it in the operating budget, and then the select board or the budget committee can, the budget committee can't, I guess, take it out. They can cut a line and just say, we're gonna cut it by this amount, and then the select board could put it back in as an article. I would advise the select board not to put this as a separate article. I would advise of all the projects, this would be one that you would keep in the operating budget.
Right, no, that makes sense. Thanks, Rick. Okay. Any other questions on this one before we move on? No?
The next one is a project that we've had on the matrix. It was last done in 2018. So every 7 years, we need to do refresh all of our hardware and our server licensing. We maintain server racks here at Town Hall, and then we have redundant racks over at the police department. And my understanding of virtualization is rather than having 10 different servers, 10 different actual pieces of hardware, you take one hardware and use software to segment it. So you have one portion, basically a server is just a computer. So the virtualization is you're basically taking an old server and you're segmenting it so that it can do multiple tasks, whether it's any of our financial data, any of our website, whatever our servers are being used for. So this has an end of, this Microsoft server licensing that we're currently using has an end of life of January 2024. They do have extended support that you can get, but that's really one of the main reasons driving this purchase. And also these function 24/7, 365. They do not shut off.
Ken?
Can we up this priority to urgent?
Right. That's my thought.
That is within your, it's within your purview.
General question, but.
Do we make these decisions as the people come through to present them, or do we make that decision at the end when we deliberate?
I think typically what the process has been is you've made notes of kind of whether you're highlighting or circling them, and usually you've done them at the end.
Okay, very good. I agree with you, Kelly. This feels like if it's out of date and we're running out of time, then it needs to get done.
And it literally houses, as Derek mentioned, everything for our operations, so it's quite important.
And to be honest with you, we are starting to have discussions here with our IT team of operationalizing all these costs. So rather than us coming to you every 7 years saying, because this number is going to be bigger in 7 years, but it is the backbone of everything that we do. So we're going to probably be starting to have conversations with the select board of getting into whether we do lease whether we're doing leases or we're contracting this out, so it becomes part of our operating budget. And we're just, that's what we've gotten to that point with computers, laptops, monitors. They have a certain number that they change out every year. They have a replacement schedule. It's in the budget every year.
And the licenses.
And the licensing, at this point, we're on Office 365, so that's a monthly subscription. We don't buy a license and then wait 5 years when we have to buy the next version. So I think that's something that we're going to be moving towards in the future. But yeah, it is important that we at least keep them up to date.
And so when you look at that, like 280 divided by 7 is, $40,000 a year-ish to start. And then
Yeah,
it'll
but
go
but
up.
then it's going to be
Right.
more. Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that we've typically done with our servers is we're having staff do a lot of the monitoring, and that's really difficult on our existing staff, as well as when you have people leave. And right now, IT is, as you can imagine, seeing a lot of turnover everywhere in the state. So that might be something that we also talk to the select board as well, of adding that extra layer of protection of also outsourcing some of the monitoring. Because yeah, cybersecurity is pretty scary right now.
Any other questions on that one? Okay.
And the last project, for those that have been involved with CIP, you've seen it many times. This is the ADA elevator addition on the rear of Grassmere Town Hall at 87 Center Street. If anyone has not had an opportunity to go into the building and would like a tour, just give me a call here at the office. I'd be happy to take anyone through it. The town has $385,000 in a capital reserve fund. The town made deposits in that $100,000 3 years in a row, and then historically, probably about 10 or 15 years, there were other deposits into it. We anticipate the project is going to cost between $500,000 and $600,000. Our HCC members are working to get an updated number. The select board has authorized us to move forward with an LCHIP grant application. We put in a letter of intent, and LCHIP did give us the green light to submit a full application. That will be going in for June 21st. So the idea at this point is to seek no additional tax funds or property taxes from the taxpayers for this project. The HCC's intention at this point in time is to use the existing capital reserve fund. They also have a restoration fund, as well as grant funds, and then donations. So that's what they're aiming to do.
Question. On the matrix, it's for 2024, but then on here it says 2025.
That was probably just an
Okay, I'm just wondering if, I just didn't know what year it was.
Which one's the correct one then?
2024. We're seeking a grant now. The grant would be awarded at the end of this year. We would probably, if this grant were successful, we would be putting it out to bid a year from now. So yes, 2024 is correct.
Would this complete the final restoration of the Grassmere Town Hall?
This is phase 6 of 6 phases of a project that started in 1999. Right now, the second floor is fully restored, unfortunately, because there is no ADA access. Not all the residents of Goffstown get the opportunity to use that building. But we do have had a dance recital in there last week. Mary Lou preschools had their graduations over the last couple of months. So it's getting limited use, and the feedback we've gotten from people that have inquired is a lot of times it's more like family events, and they have older people that grandparents that may be able to do the stairs, but those stairs in the front, they're beautiful, but they were not, they're much different than the coaches today.
Okay, and that's it for administration, right?
Yes.
I have a quick question, nothing to do with that.
Yep.
I just see that, or it's just very common, again, I've been here 3 years, where EDC, Conservation, and GTV don't make any submittals, or
Correct. They haven't made it at this point. Conservation, I know, has been very focused on milfoil and the milfoil treatment, and working with the 2 lake associations, and we budget for that out of our operating budget.
Okay.
And at this point, EDC is working on some smaller projects that fall under the threshold.
My question was, we don't normally see a submittal from them.
Yeah, it's been a few years. I think GTV probably, maybe before you were on, when Adam was still here, he needed a new board that we ended up purchasing. But
Okay.
Okay, so do we need to look forward to our next meeting? I don't know, Derek, if you have anything to prep for us? It looks like on June 15th, we will be discussing library, police, and fire. That's going to be a deep night.
yes, yes, that will, library is, I think, especially for those that have been in town since the last year, they really only have the addition to discuss in their approach moving forward.
Okay.
But yes, you'll have the fire department and police as well. The one thing, I will point out, if on your matrix, if you go to page 9 of 9, I don't want this to come as a surprise to the committee members, but what you have there is you have a total of town projects, town vehicle, and school projects on line 316, and that's after any offsetting revenue is in there. That basically those bottom lines. So I think if you look across those years,
Crazy number.
But what portion of that is bonded, so the actual tax impact?
so that's a great question. I did not put the bonds in as revenue, but I can have that answer for you at the next, because yes, you have the pool, you have the library, you have the school in 2029, and you have the police department. So those are basically your 4 big projects. So you're not seeing those bond proceeds spread out over many years, but I could definitely have that for you at the next meeting.
And that's why I asked Rick in that discussion if that's possibly one we could move, because it was in this year, even though it was only $1 million, but just looking at if we can adjust anywhere, because it's 4,000 in the years following.
Yeah, looking at the balancing, looking forward, right? Okay, well, I think that covers everything. Jim, how did I do? Did I miss anything?
No, you're perfect. Glad you're doing it. Having come late today, I'm going to be away. I'll be in England next time, and I'm not attending this.
We'll have fun in England.
So,
I have like a procedural question. So you're both the chair and the vice chair?
I'm sorry, I'm the chair of this committee and I'm the vice chair of the
Oh,
planning
okay.
board.
All right. I was confused.
You want a motion to adjourn?
I don't think we have a vice chair, so yeah. And Ellen said motion to adjourn, and 1 second, Brad seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? All righty.
Yeah.